And this comes from a journey of writing Uninvited, a book that totally changed my life. I think I shared that with you the last time we chatted. And you say that you feel like God now gave you that book because he saw this journey that you were going to enter into.
Yeah, I remember I got the page proofs of that book right after I found out that Art had been having an affair. And I was so angry and maybe hurt because I felt like, God, here are the page proofs. And what happens with the book writing process is you get page proofs in, and that's your last chance to look over the book right before it goes to print. And so Uninvited, this book I'd written on rejection, I get the page proofs in late February, early March of 2016. The book was coming out in August of 2016. So it was really too late to change anything. It was just time for me to read through it one more time, sign off, then it was going to go to the presses. And I thought, this is so unfair that I have written this book on rejection, and now I'm going to have to talk about rejection, because once a book comes out, people want you to talk on that subject. And I am now suffering the worst rejection that I've ever been through. And I thought I had healed from all my past rejections and that they were in the past. And it's easier to talk about healing from your past than dealing with your present. And so I remember sitting on my bed weeping, like, how could you have done this to me, God? Why did you let me write this book that now I'm going to have to talk about? And it's going to be so painful because people aren't going to even know the depth of what I'm walking through, because at that point we were choosing to keep what we were going through private. And it was complicated and hard, but I remember at some point as I was reading through the manuscript, the Lord really just quietly nudged my heart in the direction that he had me write the book last year that I would need this year. And I remember thinking, that's profound, God, that you loved me so much. You had me studying how to deal with rejection from a biblical standpoint. For 2 years, you had me knee deep studying that, knowing what was coming down the road for me personally. And suddenly I didn't see it as this awful, cruel reality that God had me focusing on that subject. I saw it as such a gift. And that woman that I was picturing while I was writing Uninvited, I always picture somebody, and I realized, wow, God, that somebody was me. I wrote this book for me.
And then you go through a health scare with your colon on top of all of this. Mm-hmm. What happens?
Well, my counselor kept telling me, Lysa, you've got to learn how to process all of these deep, difficult, hurtful emotions of what you're going through in your marriage. And he kept saying this statement, if not, your body will keep the score. And some people process their emotions externally. I process everything internally. So it was going against my nature to sit in counseling and try to get all of this out. But my counselor was right, because in June of 2016, I woke up one morning in excruciating pain and had no idea what was happening to me. My family rushed me to the hospital. The doctors started running tests. They could not figure out what was happening. And I was in so much pain, though, they kept me in the hospital to try to manage my pain. But they kept saying, we can't give you a diagnosis because every test we're running isn't showing any reason for you to be in this amount of pain. So I laid there in pain, excruciating pain in the hospital, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Friday morning, a surgeon came in my room and said, Lysa, we ran one last test. They ran another CT scan, but this time a CT scan with contrast. And he said, and we finally figured out what's happening. Your colon has ripped away from the abdominal wall, wrapped around itself, and cut off the blood flow inside of you. And we're going to have to go in and remove most of your colon because it's actually died inside of you. And Lysa, if we didn't catch this right now, if the pain would have gone away, and he knew I'd been asking God to take away my pain, and he said, if God would have answered that prayer and your pain would have gone away, we would have sent you home, your colon would have ruptured, and you would be dead by the end of the weekend. And he said, the pain is actually what saved your life. And I remember thinking in that moment, wow, That is true of physical pain, is true of emotional pain. When we're crying out to God, asking God to fix our circumstances, asking God to take away our pain, we have to recognize God knows the bigger picture that we can't possibly see. And God loves us too much to answer our prayers at any other time than the right time and in any other way than the right way.